Good evening, welcome, my brothers. As you know, I'm D, and this is the Future Fathers FF podcast. Right. So today, my brothers, as I'm pretty sure you've all been waiting, I've had a good few things to let you all know about Future Fathers. First of all, let's run it down. It's Future Fathers FF. The FF stands for Foundation First. As we all know, everything starts from the ground up. You can't do anything without planting seeds. Trees don't grow without water. They have to be nurtured. So, what is Future Fathers about? I hear most of you ask. Future Fathers is a place where dads can come together, ask questions, ask for advice, bring life experience, and share. I know it sounds a bit corny to some people. A lot of people would say, "Oh, what do you mean? What's all this sharing business?" You know what? There's one thing I can freely admit over my years of being a dad, and that is knowledge that you don't have, you don't know about. So today, my brothers, with me, I've got my good friend Junior, and we're gonna run through a nice little topic today. Or I can't say a topic really. It's more of a look back, a touch back. What would you do, or what would you say to yourself after having a child? So Junior, my brother, welcome to the show.
Yes, brother D. Welcome and blessings to you.
You too, man.
Listeners.
Thank you very much. So, my brother, how's your day been?
Normal kind of hectic day for me. I've got a varied agenda because there were strikes on at the local schools. I was responsible for my little boy, my youngest, because the schools were closed today. So I fit him around my already existing agenda basically for the day. But it went well and it was a productive day and an enjoyable day.
That's good to hear, man. That is definitely good to hear. So, bro, how many children do you have? Let the listeners know ages and things.
Okay, I'm a father of 5 children. I've got 5 boys, and I consider them to be a blessing to me. Definitely, it's been a trying period, but definitely an enjoyable period as well. The time that I've had my children and been a parent.
Okay. I love that. I love 5 soldiers. I love that. Yep. All right. So ages, my brother.
So yeah, my oldest is 41, almost 42 years old. Is my oldest son. My second is 37 years old. My third is 27 years old. 10 years between number 2 and number 3.
All right.
My fourth child, or my fourth son, is 25 years old. And my youngest, my 5th son, is 6 years old.
Okay. See, so you've had a varied experience with all of those different age groups growing up throughout different times in society, I would say.
Yeah, it's been across literally the last 4 decades.
And a lot has happened in the last 4 decades, my brother. A lot has happened.
Yeah, there's been a lot of significant changes within the society that we live. Most recently, one of the things I would point to is the pandemic in the most recent years. There's been a significant impact on society. But the education system has changed to the level within the environment that we've been in here in the UK. I'm based in South East London, and literally I've come up in this area as a young person myself, and I've went to school in the South East London area also.
All right. So, my brother, today I want to jump into some advice. The young fathers out there, new fathers, even certain older fathers who are just maybe getting back in touch with their children, maybe just finding a connection with them, maybe even certain fathers who didn't know they had children, or even dads who's just adopting or fostering children. So, as you've got an abundance of experience, I'm going to pick your brain for a little bit, my brother. So, number 1 on the agenda, which is what I wouldn't say is necessarily the most important thing, but with experience, we all learn different individual lessons. So, from your perspective and the experience you've gained, my brother, what would be the most valuable piece of advice that you would hand down to the next generation, the next generation, or if you wanna think of it as looking back on yourself and saying, what would you tell yourself?
Right, well, firstly, I've got to say that I'm not actually qualified as such to give advice, but what I consider that I'm sharing is some guidance from my own personal experiences.
All right, yep.
We're all going to be subject to varying and different levels of experience when we do parent.
Circumstance and situation, yes.
All of them. So, essentially, for me, what I would say, speaking to a younger me and maybe embarking on acknowledging myself as a parent, would be the first thing I would need to recognize is that I'd need to sacrifice. That wasn't something that I was really clear about at the outset. So, people just taking on the responsibility of parenting or shortly going to do so.
Yeah.
Embarking on this particular pathway is going to require a level of sacrifice on your part. And I say that because with the knowledge and understanding that I have now, reflecting on the earlier time period, I have to recognize now that essentially I didn't understand it, but now I know that this is actually me, a part of me that I'm raising.
Yep.
The sperm that is utilized to fertilize the egg, basically,
yep.
And then mother carrying the child within the womb, that is actually a part of me. So the sacrifice, it's significant, but it's also something which should be considered an honor for you to replicate yourself and then to support yourself in your growth.
You know what, my brother?
And your development.
Yes, I agree with you on that 100%. Me and my brother have said very, very frequently on the podcast that your children didn't ask to be here. You're responsible for them. You are obligated to be responsible for your children. And as you clearly stated, there's a certain level of sacrifice that has to be made on your part as a father, acknowledging, yes, you know what, this is my duty to be a provider and protector for this young life.
Yeah, but I'm really also trying to bring home this particular aspect which I wasn't clear about in my early stages of parenting, which is that it's actually a part of me that I'm raising. It's not just to try to distance yourself away from your child at all,
yep.
But to recognize that this is you in another form. And you've got to then use the knowledge and experience which you have at the age that you're taking this responsibility and actually share and care for that child and share the knowledge and understanding that you have to guide them along their pathway and along their growth, as you say, to protect them and to support them in the way that they're growing and the way that they're developing to the best of your ability.
That is definitely the key as well, it is to the best of your ability, because some of us may not be in a position where you can provide as much as the next man. Or should I say, some people will look at themselves and say, I can't do as much as so-and-so because I'm not in their position. It's not about that. When you're a dad, as you said, you provide within your means. You do what you can do as you can.
And believe, sorry not to cut you, brother, but literally what you have to also recognize is that the child will in no way judge you based on your ability to do or not to do. Not at that early point in life.
Yep.
Maybe later on in life, the child may form their own opinions and views and may want to express that in whatever way. But definitely in the earlier stages of life, in the infancy and primary stages and then into that early teenager kind of level, the child isn't that knowledgeable about what life is. You are required to give them your perspective and your best of your ability about life and show them the way that they should go and teach them the things that they need to know.
That is very true. That is very true. My brother, that leads me into my second question. So, with your experience once again, what would be the one thing that you would warn against to your younger self?
At the point of taking this responsibility is to acknowledge that it's not an easy pathway that you're taking. Parenting is by no means an easy walk in the park kind of thing. There are very wonderful days and enjoyable days that you're going to be having, but you're going to have rough and difficult days and times as well. You'll have frustrating times, and challenging times. And it's about, remaining faithful to yourself, because as I said, this is a replication of yourself.
Yep.
And it takes two to make a child. So it's a combination of you plus the loved one that you've shared the time with to create the child. You most likely didn't do it just casually, so to speak, without no care or feeling. And even if you did, you should also acknowledge the fact that, this is you, ultimately, a part of you. And 50% of you is within that child. And it's for you to nurture yourself within this other human being. And to show the love that you'd want to show for yourself. So the seed that you've planted, it's about, you indicated before about what Future Fathers is about. And it's about that foundation first. And lay that foundation for the child so that the child can grow in the right way.
Yes.
If you throw that seed in the wrong environment, it's not going to be able to grow. If you don't nurture it with the correct watering processes, the love and the care and, the manners and the respect that you need to teach them, the values that you have and so on with, then the child won't grow in the right way. So you need to recognize that it's not easy. But, it's nothing ever worthwhile is something that is achieved easily.
I couldn't have put it better myself, my brother. I actually couldn't. And as you said, that child is a replica of you. It is you in a sense, as you said before. It's you in a different form. So, as I've said before, I always try to be the father I would want to call. If I see my children doing something that I see is not necessarily a good thing, but not necessarily a bad thing, there's always choice. I always like to introduce choice. That is one thing that I was taught. You give them enough choice for them to learn. And warning against things, as you said, the one thing that you would warn against, when you tend to, I don't know about you yourself, but me in particular, when I warn my children about something, that warning I'm always trying to give it as from a teaching perspective. So it's like, if you're going to do something, these are the possible outcomes. So then you make your choice. If you see what I mean.
Well, you're providing them with an opportunity to make an informed decision.
Yes.
If you go to the left, this is a possibility. If you go to the right, that's a possibility. If you keep it straight, then that's what's likely to happen. So you give them these options, which is then allowing them to make informed choice, which is a little bit along the lines of what I said that I'm able to do, which is to give guidance. It's then going to be down to you to make that decision about what is best for you. So any future fathers listening to this podcast should understand that, you have options constantly in life. You need to provide your child with the same options that they can make the best decisions for themselves.
That's very, very true. I couldn't, bro. There's so much of what you're saying that I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, you're right. Yeah, you're right. And the reason why this is the ultimate reason why I wanted to do this in particular with you is because there are so many young fathers, or should I say fathers in general, out in the world that I wouldn't say do not have the correct tools, because there's no correct tools that you can have. It's just your own experience. But there's not enough of us out there that are willing to give that experience that we have and share it with others. There are not very many of us.
I believe that we are all on the pathway of life, and we all should be willing to learn something new every day.
Yep.
And the learning isn't always in, a formal setting, like you're in a classroom or you're in a college or a university.
Yep.
And I think you made reference to it in one of your previous podcasts that, you know, the learning doesn't only exist within a schooling environment. It doesn't end at the end of school.
Yes, sir.
Learning and your development continues beyond that. And, you know, to be quite honest with you, for black people in particular within the UK and beyond the borders of the UK as well, you know, within educational terms, the majority of our real education comes from our own willingness to learn. If we are willing to actually open our eyes and our ears and to share with others, that sharing and that caring will be reciprocated. The right people will hear you, the right people will feel you, and they'll feed you. They'll feed back to you the same things that you're feeding to them.
Yep.
That's the way that it works in life, I find. Yeah.
I find the same thing, my brother. I very much do, because I don't know if you feel the same way on this statement, but I always tend to feel that like-minded people tend to gather in circles. If you're somebody that has a good heart, you tend to draw people in with a good heart as well. There are obviously certain people that will try and take advantage of that, but generally you tend to draw like-minded people into your circle. So.
Well, even if sometimes you say, you know, some people may not actually be like-minded, it won't be too long for those people to be within your circle, because they'll realize that they're uncomfortable, or you realize that you're uncomfortable. So either you will depart or they'll depart, if you understand.
Yeah.
So it won't last for too long. But what does last very long is the relationships that you form with people of a similar mindset, similar kind of perspective that they have on life to you, and the similar values that you have, you know, the caring and the sharing, you know, the real love. And you pick that up from a spiritual level, the vibes as we describe it.
Yes.
You know, you've got a vibe from somebody, and, you know, it's reciprocated. You feel that on a spiritual level.
You definitely do, my brother. You definitely do. So, bro, on to my next question. And I think this is a good one for a lot of people, in the sense that some people are confused on what to do when they have children. Some people are confused when they have children and they've been around them a long time. So, my brother, the next question I would like to pose to you is, what one thing would you promote to your younger self?
I'm not so much sure that I would promote it just to my younger self, because it seemed to have been within me to naturally gravitate to the responsibility of my children. It wasn't something that I ever really shied away from, or tried to escape from, or tried to kind of find a different kind of avenue for. I, you know, welcome the responsibility. I welcome it. It just felt like the right thing for me to do. So it's a very natural thing. And the point I'd say from a guidance perspective is that what I recognize is that this process of parenting takes two. By nature itself, it actually takes two to produce the child. And the reason for that is because it's going to take two to raise the child. Otherwise, we'd be able to have children individually, if you understand it. We'd be able to produce children as males and females.
I fully understand that.
By nature itself and by the laws of nature, it requires two to come together, and it takes two to raise that child. So sometimes, you know, because of the society that we live in and because of the way the environment is, we'll have our difficulties within relationships as parents. And what we have to recognize is this is the time that the initial point that I said comes in about sacrificing. You've got to say what is in the best interest of the child, not for myself, whether I'm the mother or the father. You know, at this moment in time, this is International Women's Month. You know, so we have Mother's Day in this country being celebrated this weekend. So we got to have that respect for the mother which carried us so that we could be here today.
Yes, sir.
But we also have to recognize the contribution of our fathers that had to fertilize that egg, that it could be carried within the womb. That helped to make that. So in a lot of respects, you know, because of the difficulties of a relationship, which it's hard for a child to want to, pass judgment on whether mother or father, if for whatever reason they've come up in a single family household.
Yeah.
As an example, I'm a single parent at this moment in time, but it's because my children's mother passed away based on medical issues. You understand me? So
sorry to hear that, my brother.
These things happen in life, and it's something that we've had to accept. Not nice at all. Again, some of the struggles that you have to go through, some of the adversities that you go through.
Yeah.
But then you now have to sacrifice, because you realize that whatever levels of personal time that you had now literally become non-existent. Because when two are doing it, you will find that, for whatever time period, mum might have the responsibility of the children.
So you split it up.
For yourself, and vice versa.
Yep.
But then when one or the other is not in the picture, then the whole full load is then on that one individual. And that's the sacrifice that you do for a child being the best parent that you can be. It's just a requirement. And so, as I said, for me, it's about understanding that it takes two. And you've got to look beyond, whatever kind of arguments or issues that may come up between male and female parents, basically, and try and say, how can I navigate this process to ensure that the best interest of my child remains to be the priority?
Yeah, definitely, because that should be at the forefront of most people's minds as they become parents. What is in the best interest of the child? I could not have said that better myself. And there are different, as you said, trials and tribulations that you will come across as a parent, especially if you're on your own, and definitely if there's two of you. Because when there's two of you, as I'm sure you know, my brother, it's two completely different people that come together to create this child. But then you've got two completely different life experiences that are being put into this child. There are two separate life experiences that are coming together to inform this child and give knowledge to this child.
Definitely, that is something that is, a key part of it. Because if it's a little girl, as an example, mum becomes one of the key roles in a young girl's life, if you understand.
Yep.
But dad also has a key role within that learning and development as well, because the female child needs to understand what it's like to be around a male person and how to actually engage or interact or etc. with a male person. What is appropriate and what isn't appropriate, and vice versa. A boy now, may cling closer to his father as another male, but it is essential that his mother is also in the picture in that respect. He's playing an important part and role in his life, so that he can learn the key aspects of engaging and interacting with a female, and what is appropriate for a male around a female and what is not appropriate. You understand me? These are the things that can be learned. And it's also about the same love and care, again, that will come from both parents, to know, in a lot of respects, as we grow as young men and coming into adulthood sort of thing, one of the things that I find in this society is that it doesn't encourage a lot of interaction between males. I'm talking about, it's more of a militant kind of position that a male person will hold, as opposed to showing a caring and a loving kind of position. And with a female, it's also a thing whereby a boy child now needs to know, as they grow as an adult, basically into at that man level, that there is appropriate ways that you conduct yourself with regards to a female. You can't just be, approaching a female. I think it's becoming more so prevalent within the society that women and young girls are not just accepting certain behaviours which were considered acceptable maybe 10 or 20 years ago. These are the changes that I'm saying that I've seen over the last few decades. The way that you interact and engage with people of the opposite sex now becomes a matter of etiquette, literally.
Yep.
You have to understand how to conduct yourself and behave in a particular way. Some things that was acceptable, like just simple things like whistling at a girl or
Yes, sir.
calling her by, whatever kind of baby or,
Yeah.
love and, sexy and whatever. These are not necessarily acceptable in this day and time in 2023, but you go back a couple of decades and these things were happening all the time.
Yep.
And nobody gave it a second thought.
Yeah,
But
nobody was batting an eyelid then.
that's it. But the person who was on the receiving end of that may not have felt comfortable with that type of behavior at all, but didn't have any way to challenge it or, for somebody else to support whether a male or female with what they're saying. But things change. We are in an evolving society and things do change. So yeah, it's very important that both mother and father are in the life of both, a male and female child, so that they can get, the best of both worlds. Otherwise, the other aspect of it is that when one parent is not in the child's life, that child actually, similar to children who have been orphaned, children that may be or without both parents, they feel like something is missing from them.
Yes, they do.
Like they go searching literally, I want to find my mother who gave me up or my father who gave me up. Like even though they're in a foster family or, a family that shows them lots of love, lots of care, there's something still, and it's that part that is missing from them that they feel like as if, I've got to get that part back by whatever means possible,
Yep.
And in that same respect, if mother or father is not in a child's life, that's the way that the child will grow up feeling, regardless of, a lot of the time, oh, your dad's no good, oh, your mum's no good, or whatever is a comment that will come, so you're better off without them, or etc. That child is still gonna beg that question, literally.
Yep.
Who is my father? Who is my mother?
Yep.
I want to know that person. I want to find who that person. And they don't care. That person could be really a total down and out, total washout.
Yep.
They just want to know where they're from.
I think that question's inevitable,
That's exactly what I'm saying. So it's important that, even if you're separated from the mother or father of your child, that you still allow that child to have the contact with that mother or that father, that they
necessary.
Can feel whole. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's really important that, both parents are in the life of the child.
Yes, it definitely is necessary, my brother. I've seen it from both perspectives of family members who are in their children's lives and involved in their children's lives. I won't say not in their children's lives because they still are, but not as involved like in every single day.
I understand, and sometimes this is the way that the society has it, so that mum or dad has access at the weekends only, or every other weekend, or supervised visits even in some circumstances, But there's a lot to be said. We're talking about fathers, in particular, as the title of your podcast. And I'm saying, from the perspective of a black man, I'm saying that the way that the society actually has depicted black men, and some black men have kind of like, I would say, fallen into that role too easily, if you understand me. I've still got to say that a lot of it is circumstantial.
Yes, it
and
is.
if the circumstances were different, that would be a role model father, is what I'm saying. But a lot of it that isn't taken into consideration is the environment that a lot of black men are coming up in. Now, there are some black men that are just looking for the easy way out, or just saying, well, boy, I can have this child and not take the responsibility, kind of thing. But a lot of that is to do with the education, the upbringing, and etc. So I'm not trying to make an excuse for black men in particular, but I'm trying to say that a lot of the time it's a lot deeper than just a surface level discussion of the thing, and judgment on just a surface level.
Yeah, one thing I would definitely add to that is, I think a lot of black males are scared because of the stigma that comes with being a black dad.
I would say it may even be more so than the stigma of what comes with being a black dad. I think it's a lot to do with the weight of responsibility that it takes, because it's hard as a black person to survive in what is an institutionally racist society. You know, the cards are stacked against you as a black man, and it's difficult for you to manage life just for yourself. And so the fear sometimes comes from, if I can only just about manage things for me, how can I then take on another as well?
How can I feed somebody else?
And so it's not that they necessarily don't always want to take the responsibility, they don't feel that they can manage the responsibility.
Yes, I do.
And that's what I was saying in my first point about being willing to sacrifice. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, you're going to have difficult periods, but definitely you will get through. That is some guidance that I can give to anybody who's taken on this responsibility as a father. Don't give up your child thinking to yourself, I can't do this. You can and you will be able to, and you are designed to. If you are able to produce that child, you will be able to care for that child. And don't think that what you're giving won't be enough. It is always going to be enough, and your child will appreciate and love you, especially in their infancy and their primary years.
All right, my brother. I love that. So, bro, sorry about that. My very, very last question. If there was one thing that somebody could have told you that would have made things a little bit easier, a little bit better, or made you, or just put you at ease, what do you think what would be that one thing that you would want to hear?
That wouldn't necessarily be something that I can easily answer, because as I said, for me, I just kind of took to this particular responsibility. I didn't shy away from it at all. I kind of grew into it, literally, because I didn't have that fear, what we just described, that some black men would have. I couldn't really, I'll be quite honest with you, if I thought about it for a minute, I couldn't really deal with that responsibility and that particular responsibility for a child at the time when I had a child at 18 years old.
Same here, my brother.
And I couldn't deal with it. I just wasn't really ready to deal with it. But what I didn't do was turn my back on it. What I didn't do was, try to find an easy way out of it.
Same here.
I just faced it and dealt with it day by day. And as I went through day by day, it got better and better, and it became easier and easier. And then all of a sudden I realized I was doing this thing. It's like you go to try to ride a bike. It's not necessarily a good equation, but you try to ride a bike the first time, you're going wobbly and you're going off balance. You might even fall off, if you understand me. But so long as you're willing to get up and, adjust the pedal again, get yourself on and try again, you will get it, if you understand me. But the worst thing you can do is say, no, I don't ride bikes. I'm not into riding bikes. I'm not going to do that anymore. And that's the thing with parenting.
I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on that one, my brother. I use the analogy like someone that doesn't go to the gym, someone that wants to get into shape, and they're saying to themselves, right, I'm going to go tomorrow. And eventually you get, exactly, tomorrow either never comes or you eventually get there and you're like, it's too much. No, I don't want to do it.
Or you think you can get fit overnight, just in one day or something.
Yeah, exactly. And some of us tend to say, okay, do you know what? I know it's going to take a little while, but I'm going to keep going. That's exactly what parenting is. Just, as you said, just getting up every day and just saying, do you know what? Today's another day. Let me see what today's doing.
Just keep on going and have that faith and belief in yourself that you are designed for this purpose. If you can produce that child, you are designed for that purpose of being the parent of that child.
Yes, my brother. Yeah.
And not just shy away from that responsibility.
No.
And to, to be willing to sacrifice, basically. It's about giving of yourself, saying that, look, this is me, a replication of me, and I'm just giving to myself, essentially. So I'm taking from myself. It's like, passing from my left hand to my right hand. Yeah, you're investing your time in your future self. As you said, it's future father. So you're investing in your future self, basically. What you want, your legacy. That's what that is. It's what's coming after you.
It definitely is.
It's a key part of the role as a father, is being with yourself.
Yeah, definitely, bro. Our history, that's what it is, right? I don't really like to use the word history because it's his story, but it's our past. Our children are going to be telling stories about us to their grandchildren. I remember my dad. I remember my mum. I remember so and so. It's, as you said, it's our legacy, our children, our legacy, and what we put into them is what they're going to put out, should I say? Because
that's right.
We don't necessarily, as parents, we don't necessarily see what we do in our children until they're able to be out in the world on their own.
That's it. Then the evidence of whatever you've done is there to be seen. You know, how well did you do with a child? But even in contrast to what you're saying, sometimes you could do the best possible job. You know, a lot of people commend you on what you've done. But then the circumstances of this environment that we're living in causes your child to maybe react out of character, or to behave out of character, or just to be in the wrong company with the wrong peer group, etc.
Making wrong decisions. And so even with the best will in the world and, you know, the most dedication as a parent, sometimes this society has some footholds, I'd call them, for your children, basically. And if they make a bad decision, or they are led astray by others who are not good decision makers, then they'll find themselves in precarious positions, basically. Oh, yes.
And then, you know, sometimes people may, from the outside looking in, say, oh, well, must have been down to the parent. But when in fact the parent has done, you know, the best possible job that they could have done, but the circumstances of this environment, you know, dictate otherwise for your child, and then they have, you know, a negative impact on your child. Basically.
That's it. Unfortunate circumstances do happen, my brother. They definitely do happen.
And it's outside of your control. It's a lot to do with you have minimal control in your environment that we live in presently.
Yep. Once your children leave your presence,
you do worry about them. That's the other thing. You're going to worry about your children if you're a parent, you know. You're going to worry as to, you know, are they going to travel from one point to the next point and arrive safely?
Yes.
Is there going to be any predicaments along the road, kind of thing?
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to navigate their way out of some of the difficult situations that you'll find themselves? And as I said, all you can do is the best that you can do as a parent, and then you pray that, you know, things go your way.
Yes, just the knowledge you impart on them and give them, and how it's the tools you give them and how they use them. Mm-hmm. You try your best to teach them how to use how you've used them, should I say, not how to, but how you've used them, and you try and guide them on the same path or something similar to what but without all the hazards, should I say.
Yes, definitely. You just do the best that you can do, as we said. You know, you're trying to make sure that you know that your conscience keeps you in a good frame of mind, based on the fact that you weren't cutting corners, you weren't trying to do it in any other way other than the best way that you knew how to. And, you know, people write books on parenting, but, you know, the majority of parents just do the best that they can do based on their knowledge and their understanding of their own experiences in life. And a lot of the time you look at what your own parents did and say, well, that's where I felt that my parent didn't maybe do well. I'm going to make sure I do that with my child. If you understand, you know, so you use your own life experiences to say, oh, I think my mum or dad could have done that a little bit better, so I'm going to try and make sure that I do what I'm doing better.
Exactly, that's exactly what I was just saying.
You're trying to improve for the future generation.
That's it. Do you know what it is, bro? It's taking the blueprint and improving on the machine. It's saying, right, okay, so like you just said, you take from what your mum and dad did with you, and you look at it and say, right, these are the things that I liked. Those are the things I'm definitely going to implement. These are the things that could maybe have been a little bit better. These are the things I'm going to improve on. And these are the things that, anything that you don't want, you leave on the wayside. You don't even think about.
That's it. You got to have that kind of understanding about what you're doing and why you're doing it. And then you just go at it with the best of your abilities.
Yep, and the best of intentions. I'll definitely add that in there, my brother. Definitely the best of intentions, because a lot of us have good intentions, and as you said, circumstance unfortunately takes all the good you've done and dumps it somewhere else. That is
possible, but that's part of life in itself, as we say, you know, like you're gonna have ups and you're gonna have downs, and
that's it.
You have to basically have that faith that you can actually still win in life in terms of having the best life possible and having an enjoyable life with you and the other members of your family, and that the blessings of God will be with you to guide you and to help you over any difficulties that you're going to go through.
Yes, sir. So before we go, my brother, I just want to mention one thing. It's definitely been a pleasure having you on today.
It's been my pleasure to share. I really believe in what you explained earlier in the conversation about, it's important for us to share, and each one teaches one. So I'm hoping that, whoever listens to this podcast at whatever point in the future may find it of some benefit to them.
Somebody will, my brother. Somebody definitely will. So all of this, my brother, as we've spoken, all of these things, I think, are definitely 100% tangible. Only in the sense that we've been talking about things that would have maybe helped us, or things that we would have liked to have known. And it's strange that you said you've only got boys, because what I'm going to say is very relevant to myself as well, because I only have boys. What we're talking about is the father that we are trying to be, and we're molding what we know and using the experience to become better fathers in ourselves. All of these things, as I said, are tangible because we're teaching our younger selves, as you stated before, our own replicas in different forms.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I can actually bear witness to the fact that that is a reality. That I have 4 grandchildren. I have 2 grandsons and 2 granddaughters. And one of my children, when I see the way he is raising his child, it's a pleasure to see it, because it's almost like I'm looking at myself doing what I was doing with him.
It does, bro.
You understand me? So I can bear witness to that. That is exactly the process. That there is a legacy that you're passing on, and that will be replicated to a level and improved on as well on another level. You understand?
Yes, I do.
So yeah, I can bear witness to that, is what I'm saying. That is a reality.
My brother, thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much. Junior, it's been a pleasure talking to you, my brother. I'm definitely going to get you back on again in the future. We're going to have very, very many more conversations, and we'll see where we take this, man. It's been a pleasure having you.
It's my pleasure, D, and I appreciate the opportunity, and I wish you all success in the podcast and the development of it.
My brother, thank you very, very much.
Okay, you have a good night, brother D.
And you too, man.
Okay, blessings, my brother.
Stay blessed, bro. Well, my brothers, as you heard, from father to father, information is something that needs to be passed on. It's something that needs to be taught, and it's something that needs to be held on to. All of us are only trying to improve on something that was shown to us, or maybe not shown to us. We're improving on ourselves, and we're trying to improve our children. But once they leave the nest, they're the ones that have to improve on themselves, and what came before, and what comes next. My brothers, I've been D. This is the Future Fathers FF podcast. And before I go, like, share, subscribe, follow. As Junior said, each one teach one. We all need to jump on this. I've had a brilliant episode today. I'm going inside my house and I'm going to be gassed this evening. So my brothers, I beg you, stay blessed.